One of the quotes that was most impactful for me, especially as it relates to this physical challenge I've been facing, is a quote from M. Scott Peck in his book, The Road Less Traveled. It's actually the first line of the first page of the first chapter of his book. And it simply says this: life is difficult. And it's one of the great truths of life that it is difficult. And the reason it's a great truth is because once we understand that that's just reality, that life is difficult, it no longer becomes difficult because it's what we have come to expect. You see, I think one of the things that makes suffering difficult, especially when we're suffering with a physical challenge, is that we are dealing with a battle on two fronts. And what I mean by that is that I think this is unique to our day. I think for most people over history, they understood that life would be difficult. That was just the way it was. But in our modern day, we kind of have this sense, maybe this expectation that life should be easier than it is, that we should be comfortable, or that's what we're owed. And so when life becomes difficult, we're not only facing the difficulty of the physical challenge, we're now also facing the challenge of it not being what we expected. Like we're surprised by the difficulty. And so when Scott Peck says, hey, if you can come to a place in your life where you have just come to say and expect that, you know what, things are going to be hard, things are going to be difficult. We're going to walk into circumstances and situations that are not going to be easy or comfortable. That's just how life is. That helps us process whatever physical challenge we're facing because we're no longer surprised by the fact that it's hard. So, for example, when I was in the hospital this last time, when I was at Mayo Clinic, I had a very complicated surgery. It was, after 6 years of dealing with various types of cancer, and cancer had invaded various organs. And when I met with the urologist, he said, Pete, really, if we want to deal with this cancer, we're going to have to take out every organ that's been affected by it. So for me, that meant I had to get my kidney removed, I had to get my ureter removed, I had to get some suspicious lymph nodes removed, and my prostate. They even want to take my bladder, but we dealt with that through chemo. But that surgery was very complicated. I was under for, I think it was 12 hours. And then there were some things that went wrong. And so they had to go in for a second surgery for another 4 hours. And the night after that second surgery was especially hard. And when I was, trying to process that reality, I found myself in this position where I remembered that quote. And it kept me from getting resentful on top of my suffering. I found myself thinking, Lord, I know that life is hard, but would you help me process the hard? And I had one of those moments even in the middle of the night, and maybe you've experienced something similar yourself, where it was 2:00 in the morning, 2:05 in the morning, and I was in excruciating pain. And I was like, God, please help me. Help me process this pain. Help me to get over this pain. I had taken some medication, but they had, done as much as they could from that side of things. And so I needed some kind of spiritual intervention. And what it happened to me in those moments, it was like, okay, I thought this was 5 minutes and only 2 minutes passed. And I found myself thinking, Lord, just help me to stand. Help me to face this and survive it. And what helped me was a reminder of a passage out of Ephesians chapter 6. This is one of those places where Paul is talking about the full armor of God, that there are things that we can do to arm ourselves against the battle that we face spiritually. And he describes these various facets of the armor of God. And then he says, and after having done all that, stand. And that's what I had to do on that night. I had to just say, okay, I've done everything I know to do. I've prayed every prayer I know to pray. And now I just have to stand. I need to face this hardship and endure it as a good soldier. And that's not easy to do. In fact, there were many parts of it that were very difficult. But I was glad I only had to face the battle physically. I was not surprised by the fact that it was difficult. I had prepared my heart and mind for that. And I would suggest that as you deal with your own suffering and your own hardship, that one of the things that you can do to prepare yourself for it is just to say that's how life will be, to expect it as part of the journey, par for the course, the way it is. And that's not being negative. That's just being real. And being real about the journey and the difficulty of it is part of what helps us survive it.